Call the meeting, the Harrison County Commission meeting for July 21st, 2021 to order. If you will rise and join us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to have this meeting. We ask you, Lord, for a blessing upon this meeting so that the people's work can be done, Lord. And we ask all this in Jesus' precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. One who wants to speak publicly. Mr. Gentilossi.
Thank you. Can I sit or stand? How do you want to?
Doesn't matter.
Thank you. Commissioners, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I would like to bring something to your attention that's causing my family and I concern. We're neighbors on this new project, the new courthouse annex project, and through some investigation and gathering information, we understand that there's an issue with the soil around our building where the excavation has proceeded, also an issue with some water that's coming in on the site. Subsequently, we're seeing cracks forming around our land. It's subsiding in towards the hole that was dug, the excavation site. And it's visible that the land is dropping in some places over 1 foot already. And I would like to come to this commission to ask for your cooperation in finding out what is going on, number one. I would rather see cooperation than litigation at this point, because I feel that you're owed an opportunity to let me know what's going on and what's being done to remedy it. And, you know, unfortunately, we are seeing the effects on our building, including some movement of walls and some other things. But the most troubling right now visible is the subsidence around the backside of our building, which is adjoining the area that you excavated. And, you know, we're not experts in excavation, so we trusted that the people that were doing this work would know to do it correctly. And, you know, some of the work that you've done has already destroyed the area that leads up to our foundation, which I had faith that the county and the contractor at the end would make it all right. And it would look good, and it would be probably better than it was originally, the area that they tore up in between. But this subsidence issue is a whole nother issue. And it's really something I think we need to address. And so what I'm here to ask you is, I'm asking for, you know, I'd like to have the information about what is going on. I've read the newspaper article. We have gathered a little information from the contractors on the site. And so we're just trying to get a hold of where we stand and whether we suffer potential liability here, that if somebody falls in a hole on our property, or worst case scenario, we see our foundation starts to subside. And, you know, I've spoke to this council before. I'm a very big supporter of this project, you know, as an officer of the court, recognizing that even Doddridge County now is building their new annex behind their courthouse, which was designed by Thrasher Engineering. So I've always supported this project, believing that this is a way to move our county forward. And plus, I'm a big proponent of Clarksburg. I like the permanency of seeing the building built in Clarksburg. It makes me feel better about, you know, where we're heading. But this issue with the subsidence is something I just need to bring to your attention now, or I'd be, you know, not doing my due diligence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I said, excuse me, Mr.
No, you're fine. Thank you, man. No, thank you. Shall I leave or?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome to stay.
Okay.
Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak publicly? Anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak publicly? Consent agenda. What's the pleasure? Motion to move forward and adopt into record. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposition, motion carried. Number 3, payroll change notices.
I'll wait till the executive session. Discuss the hirings.
Is that a motion to go into the
Yes, ma'am.
executive session? Due to personnel matters, is that how we should say that?
If due to personnel matters, do you have questions pursuant to the attorney-client privilege as well?
Yes.
Okay. That's a valid basis to go in. A motion's been made. Do we have a second vote?
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
There you go.
Yes. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to come back and out and go out of executive session into regular session.
Motion as stated.
Motion as stated by myself. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now, we'll go back to number 3, payroll change notices. What's the pleasure?
Motion to move forward with all items except C. So that our Finney attorney will look further into the promotion.
So under payroll changes, number 3, you will okay, A, B, D, E, and F. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. And it's 10:14. We had a 10:10 appointment. That's what I got.
Oh, no problem at all. Morning, Commissioner.
Morning. Come on up.
We just wanted the opportunity to stop by. I understand there were some questions about the property valuation report that you received not too long ago. So I just wanted to stop by, see if we can answer any questions, give you a little bit of information, see if we can get that taken care of for you. And again, appreciate Laura, you setting this up and getting us on the agenda here.
We know who you are and Vivian's with you. Could you please?
I'm sorry, I'm Mike Rezak. I'm a risk control consultant with WV Corp. We handle the insurance for the county here. We've got Vivian Parsons with us as well. Probably even more important since they're having us mask up when we're meeting with our members just because we do the risk control things just to kind of go above and beyond. So even more important that we're identifying ourselves. You don't think we're trying to rob you or anything.
Because I didn't recognize her the last time she was here with the mask. I do now.
Oh, yeah, we've been sneaking in and out with these things. It makes it tough.
Right?
That's right. So I did print out just for you here, Laura. I think you've got this in front of you, but a copy of your valuation report. And I did want to say we use a third-party vendor for this, Meta Services, to do the valuations for us, simply so we don't get into any type of difference in opinion of you think it should be valued one way or we think it should be valued a different way. So we use a third party. So I won't be able to answer any specific questions on it, but I've talked with your appraiser and I hopefully can give you the information that you're looking for here. So I wanted to open it up by saying, do you have any questions on it specifically? Because my understanding was from talking with Laura here that there's some concern that maybe some of the values were a little bit too low, and I'm happy to address that. But I also want to give you the opportunity just to make sure I was understanding what the issue was properly.
Okay.
And I'm happy to keep going. That was my assumption. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to refute it, but I had kind of heard that the main concern was looking through our valuations of the buildings. There's a little bit of concern that maybe some of the limits that we have placed on these buildings was lower than what the commission might feel comfortable, given the increased cost of construction materials and things of that nature. And so there were concerns along those lines. Is that basically a fair representation of maybe what those concerns were? For the most part?
David, my notes reflect that you were concerned about the courthouse with the annex and also the 4H, the property values of those locations.
And so I wanted to give you a little bit of general information. Like I said before, I won't be able to speak to the specifics of these numbers because we use that third-party source, but I did speak to your appraiser and I wanted to set your mind at ease about a couple things. First of all, they are happy to reopen this file. So I'll leave the contact information of the appraiser with Laura today. And his name is Walt. He said he's happy to open it up, take a look at it, and he can kind of work with you to get those values somewhere closer to where you'd like them to be. Now, again, he's using an objective software system to put these together. I've got a pretty good understanding of how that works. My background was in the commercial market before I came with the pool, and I actually used to do some of these valuations. And typically, you're using a software system that's developed that you can be using nationwide. So it's not necessarily a perfect system because it's going to change cost based on the regions that you're in, and there's a whole lot of different factors. The engineers and actuaries that put these systems together make it a pretty complicated thing. So that this is going to be based on that decision or that system, but they are going to have a little bit of control in tweaking things. So he said, for example, he may have put what he considered to be average construction materials, and he can bump that up if you feel more comfortable using premium construction materials, things of that nature. So there are ways to change those limits that you have on here if you're not comfortable with it. And that's certainly something he said he'd be willing to set up and go over with the commission. Now, that said, I also want to talk about it a little bit from our side, the risk pool side, so you have an understanding of how our property coverage works for you all as well. Everything that we do, one, we write on a special form. That's just the insurance form that we use for it. So that gives you the broadest coverage possible. It's not just going to be a named perils or open perils, but this is specialized coverage. So unless it's specifically included, there's coverage there. I just want to give that little plug to how we do things in the risk pool. And I also wanted to make sure that you understand we don't have a co-insurance provision on any of the property that we use. So typically what you'll see property insurers do in a lot of cases is put co-insurance provision into their property coverage. And essentially what that means is they want to ensure that you are insuring your properties to value. And if you're not, if you're off by a little bit, there's a penalty associated with it. So for example, if you had $1 million building and you've got a 80% co-insurance provision in there, they're going to require you to have that within 80% of what the value of the building is. So you have to be insuring it for at least $800,000. And if you're not, and there's a loss, even if it's just $100,000 loss, and certainly that's under that limit that you have on the building, they're going to penalize you and not give you the full $100,000 for a loss like that. We don't have a co-insurance provision, so there's no penalty for having the building insured at a lesser value than it is. That's just kind of chalk it up to an underwriting error. And we also do have guaranteed replacement costs on all the buildings. So what that means is our coverage is written in such a way that if you were to lose a building, we guarantee that we will replace that building, even if that's more than the limit. So you look at the courthouse here, it's probably about I think it's like a $40 million limit on the building, something like that. If it came back and it took $50 million to put this courthouse back, we would actually pay that $50 million to put it back. And the only difference there would be that we would go back then and charge you whatever the difference would have been for the difference in premium, which would be very, very small because coverage cost is pretty low. To give you a practical example that we saw in a neighboring county of yours, we had an animal shelter that was a very small building. We actually didn't even come to take a look at it because it was so low in value. It was valued at about a $50,000 building. So we didn't send any appraisers out to see it. Well, that animal shelter burned down, turned out as about a $200,000 building. We've been insuring it for years at $50,000. We paid the $200,000 to put that building back. And the only thing, again, that this particular county owed on the animal shelter was that difference in premium to take that from a $50,000 building to $200,000 in coverage. And that was actually such a negligible amount of money that the risk pool just waived it and didn't even collect that difference in premium that would have been collected there. So again, I wanted to set your mind at ease kind of on both fronts there. From the appraiser side of things, they're more than happy to take a look at this. We certainly want to have everything insured to value, have coverage at a limit that you feel comfortable with. They're happy to sit down and take a look at it with you. And there are ways that he said he can tweak this within his system to get it closer to a value you're comfortable with. But I also want to look at it from our side on the coverage side of things and hopefully set your mind at ease there as well, that because of the guaranteed replacement cost and the fact that we don't have a co-insurance provision, you still are really in good hands if something were to happen and we later found out that it was undervalued. That's not something that's going to really come back to bite you from that standpoint. So that's really what I want to share with you. I don't know if there's any questions. I know I moved kind of quickly, a lot of insurance type stuff in there. I thought that it would.
I'm not.
Right, yeah.
Location one where you have the courthouse and the annex off and on this, or break those out. They're separate buildings. We have breezeway goes in between the two, and technically it's classified as one, but
Right, and that's the,
huge difference in the values of the context, and that's.
right, absolutely. No, and
If there's a way to give us a better idea what the main courthouse is, sure.
right, and again, Walt could go through that because he is going to break that down section by section. He won't be able to separate that into separate buildings just because technically with the breezeway, it's got to be treated as a single building. And that's just the way the system is going to take a look at it. But it doesn't necessarily mean he's taking the square footage and saying, here's this whole footprint of this massive complex, and we're going to treat it all the same. He's going to go through and break that within his valuation system into different sections. So he could show you what the body of the courthouse is being valued at versus the annex. But when it's coming out in the report, it's still going to be treated as one.
Because the annex, the value and it's very,
Mhm.
as far as contents and all that goes, it's very low, and I just want to make sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So like I said, he'd be happy to open that file and he can kind of give you the specific breakdowns, but it'll always show up as a single building in a report like this.
And as far as the 911 center, I'd like to see how that was arrived, because there's a lot of money spent there that's not construction from all the special steel, bulletproof glass, and
Mhm.
all redundancy we have to put in, so it's
Absolutely.
$5 million replacement cost back. I'm not sure.
Great. Yeah, so if it's all right with you, I think what I'll do is I'll leave that contact information with Laura and let her reach out to the appraiser, and he'll be the one to be able to talk you through that if that's a good solution for you. Oh, yeah, thank you. Great.
Hey, Mark, since you're here, Trace Simmons, I'll ask you a question. Can you kind of talk to the commission about their cyber, how that works in the risk pool? Is any preventative type products you all have to kind of help us be prepared? Because we're gonna probably continue to evolve towards a cyber digital system. Maybe give us a rundown on that. Would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah, so you do have your cyber liability with coverage with the risk pool as well. And that's a great question. As Harrison County knows well, this is an ever evolving threat. From our standpoint, we've seen cyber claims literally double every single year in the pool since this time we started offering that coverage. And we don't anticipate that slowing down anytime soon. It's one of the biggest threats facing, unfortunately, local government at this point. They tend to find themselves in the crosshairs a little bit more than normal. So the first piece that you certainly want to look into is obviously on the coverage side of things, which of course, we are very proud of the liability program that we had in place for that. The big things that we're seeing kind of as industry trends are a stripping away of coverage for social engineering events and also ransomware events, which of course you have coverage for with us in the pool. But again, it's not just the risk pool who's seeing this increase in attacks. We're seeing industry-wide and countrywide that the costs of dealing with these types of events are escalating. So you're seeing insurers kind of batten down the hatches, so to speak, and tighten up their underwriting requirements on it. So the big thing is ensuring that you've got proper coverage in place, which we feel confident that you do with the program that you have with us. But we also do provide training and some assistance on the front end to help prevent these types of events from happening. So we have, we've got webinars available online. We're also happy to come in. We've got people who will come in and do in-person training to essentially do cybersecurity 101 with your staff, talk through how to avoid being victimized by a ransomware attack or a phishing attack, things of that nature. And we've been pushing for that more and more. At this point, we don't have any underwriting requirements in place, and you're seeing that happen more and more with cyber insurers, where they're saying, we won't even offer you this coverage unless you have these certain things in place. We haven't had to go that route as of yet. So there are no requirements that would preclude you from getting coverage on the cyber side with the pool. But that being said, we want to be as proactive as possible. And that's why we're offering and really encouraging that counties take us up on bringing us in, getting in front of really all of your employees, anybody who uses a computer. I mean, oftentimes people think, I want to send my IT staff to get some cyber training. They're the ones dealing with the cyber attack. Well, they're the ones who know how to have the best idea of what they're doing. Right. You really want to cater this to kind of the lowest, right? We want to go with the lowest common denominator to make sure everybody who's touching a computer within the county has some basic awareness and training in what to do in the event of some sort of cyber incident. Because really it's your employees that are typically the weakest link in that chain. Almost always that's going to be the weak point where you experience an incident. So I hope that it helps answer.
Yeah, I guess the question, follow-up question, you guys have dummy software to try to trick, so to help us train our people. A lot of companies are using that. The reason I bring this up for you all is the market is going to get really hard. It's already hardening. The products are decreasing. We have that, or we don't have it?
We do.
Okay,
Yeah, we've been doing it for
good.
over a year, maybe a year and a half.
You're ahead of the curve.
We probably need to do some more our own fishing.
Mhm.
If you put it that way.
Right,
We
absolutely.
had it happened a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and I think we've kind of been lax on training our people and making them aware,
Mhm.
make sure they're aware.
Sure.
That's just, and I'm speaking for.
Oh, absolutely. No, I agree with you. And I think Vivian, you
I
had
was just
something
gonna
you
say,
wanted to
Mike,
chime
you might want to mention the cyber coach that we have in place as well, if there is an event.
Right,
like
yeah,
Even after hours or whatever.
absolutely. Yeah, we do have, essentially, if you want to call it on retainer, we do have a cyber coach that we use for the pool, who's just really awesome in her field. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on her from members who've used her. But essentially, from the moment that you even suspect a cyber incident, even if it's after hours, like Vivian said, we've got a number where you go straight to that breach coach, and she will walk you through really every step of the way. Because unfortunately, you know, we've also learned the hard way on some of these things where we've seen claims get a whole lot worse than they need to be because they've been allowed to languish, and maybe somebody clicked on something they shouldn't, and they're worried about getting in trouble, so they don't mention it right away, or they try to take care of it themselves. Or in some cases, we've had entities who think, well, I'm going to get out in front of this and just issue a public statement saying, I think we've had an issue. And in a lot of cases, it's really not the route that you want to go. And again, that's why we have a breach coach who's an attorney in this area who's going to talk you through kind of every step of that way. So appreciate you mentioning that program, Vivian.
I believe we're still doing that, Johnny.
The training?
Checking- No, not the training, but something that checks. for-
Yes, we have.
catch something. Anything else? Thank you for coming.
Oh, absolutely. No, great to see you as always. And again, I'm going to leave that contact information with Lauren. If you have any issues with it, we'll take it from there, but we'll be able to get those valuations resolved to your liking. Thank you.
Take care.
And if you have any training needs, Mike is the guru in the training, but if you have any training that you want to set up or anything, just give us a shout and we'll get something with cyber or anything else that we offer.
Thank you.
31, funding request. Emergency Volunteers of Harrison County. That's not,
Go for the club there.
if you can stay right there if you want to, it's up to
Oh.
you. You can come right there, you can sit,
Okay.
record, doesn't matter.
All right.
Whatever makes you comfortable.
Sitting down, does.
Okay, right.
So I'm here actually in place of our director, Melissa Sinisi, as she's on vacation in Maine and she couldn't catch a flight. So she said, could you handle it? I'm actually the president of the board of the Literacy Volunteers. I suppose you'd like a background as to what we do. First of all, pardon?
Just a little bit.
Okay, I can do that in a little bit of time. First of all, we run a very vibrant ESL or English as a second language program. We have people from Colombia, Guatemala, Mexico. We even have a gentleman from Syria. That's an ongoing program. And that has led in the past to citizenship for some folks. You've seen the Mr. Taco truck around. That lady gained her citizenship through us prepping her to take that test, which is a pretty cumbersome test, I understand. We're in the throes right now of a summer literacy program for students of Harrison County. We also prep adults to take the, well, it's no longer called the GED, it's called the TASC. It's test assessing for secondary completion. And that's an ongoing program. Also, we offer free tutoring for reading, math, English, or language arts, I should say, and so forth. Whatever the need be, I think we can pretty much cover that. We have a talented group of tutors who are former teachers, as is our executive director. It's a very well-run organization because of her, quite honestly. But all of our tutors and board members are involved in the process. So again, it's all free of charge to Harrison County residents, no matter what. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Discussion on that. Motion's been made to allocate $2,000 to the Harrison Volunteers. of Harrison County.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that, the support.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we don't have any minutes under number 4, correct?
Correct.
Good. Requisitions. Number requisition list of payments. I went through. Ready to sign? Motion to move forward and adopt in the record. Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We have a corrective ticket and an exoneration under number 6, A and B. What is the pleasure?
Report about A and B.
Motion is to adopt A and B into record and approve. Correct. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 7 is consideration of approval of project fund requisitions for the payment of costs associated with the GSA building. Finance, to be financed through proceeds of Series 2020 bonds issued by Harrison County Building Commission. There's only one A requisition.
Motion to forward A.
Motion has been moved to move forward with the requisition A under number 7 on the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 8, review, discuss, consider business zoning compliance from JAV LLC doing business as Pearl Parkview Cafe, 1489 Milford Street.
She's had paperwork in front of us before this one. is just for the video lottery machines now. She's got out all the paperwork for it.
In the city of Clarksburg.
She is. She,
Is this a village?
believes so.
On that 1480 or for sure.
So that's probably out there somewhere.
Yes, Village Square.
It's not in the city.
That,
That's my sheet here. Yes.
Not to sound, like I almost started an argument, but Trey, if we don't have any zoning, why are we approving?
Under the Video Lottery Act, when a video lottery facility comes into a jurisdiction, like the county, they're required to get the zoning compliance form filled out. Whether it just says we don't have to, I mean, that's what, then they take it to the big building in Charleston, and file it down there. Yes. The last one we did, I think, was out just outside of the Viapora, pardon me, out of the White Oaks development, but it was on county as well. So,
Motion to move forward. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
The opposition? Number 9. Review, discuss, consider retaining a consultant for administration and coordination of American Rescue Plan project development and implementation.
Consult for assistance in our projects with water and sewer, fiber optic cable.
Motion has been made to. I'm sorry, I missed it. Be a consultant concerning the Rescue Plan. Okay. As far as the American Rescue Plan money. Okay. Any discussion?
That's not on the agenda. That's not something we can decide that. And then maybe you guys don't argue with me, but it says consider hiring a consultant. I mean, we're not even going out. We haven't discussed what the qualifications were for the consultant. And Mr. True Cost has brought us somebody's name that we haven't even discussed or approved. I mean, if Mr. True Cost is going to continue to bring on employees here that we're going to hire, then let's make him HR head. This is totally unacceptable. Do we want to retain one? Discuss it.
That's what we're here with.
I just made a motion to hire one.
Now we're in the discussion phase of his motion. So I think we can discuss that at this point. Am I wrong?
y'all can discuss it. I guess my question would be scope, details, duties, reporting, chain of command. What would all of that
All in the county administrator.
look like?
Why do we need somebody? I guess that's the first question. If we never see $20 million, with $6 million. We're not capable of overseeing this money. We're gonna pay somebody, we're gonna pay them.
We can pay by the general fund and then we'll be able to reimburse the money and the rest of the money and see works with water, and works with the PSDs as well as the municipalities so that we can grow the water and sewer project. And also drainage.
So we could hire Steve Steer Thrasher to do this.
And that's what we could.
But we didn't give them the opportunity.
Work with them, to work with them, coordinate our project.
So we're back to that issue again. You're saying that all our money is going to be used for water. So
I'm not saying anything as an individual. I'm saying as an individual, I know that I would like to build an infrastructure for water, sewer, drainage. I can't think of anything more important within the county to develop, to fix what we've been maybe for a long time, and also to grow the county as far as residential and commercial development.
and how much we going to pay this person?
Go back to that next week with consideration.
I'd like to hear that consideration today.
Go out of number. And that's-
Zero.
I'll call the question.
Well, I just want my name put in the mix. I'll do it for free. I think we keep railroading people in here. I don't even think this man's qualified again for this job. All he ever did was oversee building construction. He has no engineering background. He has no idea what it takes to build a water plant or a sewage treatment plant. He knows how to go out and check a footer, make sure that some streets been paved right. He was a building inspector. People here that do it for a living and we're not even giving them the opportunity to step up and be recognized to handle this for us, if that's what you want. I just don't understand why we would pay somebody to do something that this commission's very capable of handling. It says a lot that we're not, must not be very good commissioners. We can't figure out how to control $6 million or $15 million. We want to take the time to do it. And I'm offering, I'll take the time to do it. Because I don't see the reason to waste the money. I've worked on projects totaling $70-80 million. This is not a big project. I don't think any of these architects in the room think it's that big of a deal. You know, see what you want. Pay somebody $60, $70, $80,000 a year. We've got a lot more important people to hire in this county than that. And again, we're going out and hiring, we're not advertising, we don't have a job description. And as far as I'm concerned, we did not state in the minutes that we were hiring somebody that point that out to me, I would appreciate it. So we're hiring.
Should we bring something back a little bit more extensive? This is my question. Or moving forward, do you think, Trey?
Look at item 10, Susan.
I'm asking Trey a question.
Yeah, and I'm looking at agenda item number 9, says you discussed consider retaining a consultant.
I don't mean to stick you on the spot.
Well, retaining and hiring are certainly synonyms, but I would like to see some more detail. What do you want? Duration, scope, responsibilities, duties, reporting, like I said before. What's the specific criterion you all would like to see?
I don't know if we're saying consultant or we're saying Thrasher can hire, CEC can hire, a set can come in and apply for this as a consultant, or are we saying individual?
I think we need somebody to work on this. I truly do. That can dedicate time to it. And I for one also agree with the infrastructure, water, sewer. It's very important to this town as well. Ask the administrator to come up with the hiring and then come up with.
Whatever you guys want.
I'm just curious, because, I mean, we're supposed to address negative economic impacts, premium pay for essential workers, support public health response, and I'm just trying to see where this judgment falls into that.
When's the practical question? When's the money going to start to arrive?
We have,
We have the first round of payment. How does it arrive in terms of structured payments, just so we. So,
More structured.
I'm not sure right now. I'll come back to next week and we'll be more definitive of exactly what the role will be. And then we'll revisit it next week. Yeah, I guess. We'll have the same motion next week. But we'll be more.
So there'll be no action taken on number 9 at this time. Let's see, based on next week's agenda.
are we gonna have any input on what we're going to do with this money? Because like I said, support public health response, address negative impacts, address health disparity,
I think
premium pay for essential workers,
water and sewer is,
invest in water, sewer, invest in broadband. So I'm just trying to decide how this gentleman knows when somebody comes, if he's not familiar with this, and has the resources. that we use in education. People that can't apply, we don't want to be sued because somebody gave them bad information. Be very careful.
okay. It's 10:49, I believe. That's 10:45, is that correct? Yes. Clarksburg Mission, Lou Ortenzio. There it is. By yourself.
Morning, y'all. Thank you so much for hearing our request for special funding. Want to take a few moments to talk about the mission and maybe have some of the folks with me. I have Chris Kinney, our board president, Barbara Weaver, who is our grants officer and a board member also, and Desi Underwood, who is the ministry coordinator. This is the 50th anniversary of the Clarksburg Mission. We are a lot different than we were a year ago, and I'm really proud of where we have come through some adversity. We're requesting $15,000 for floor refurbishing, refinishing, recovering, and furnishings for our classrooms. We never had classrooms before. For many years, and I've been at the mission for 12 years, we were at times simply sheltering homeless folks. We at times were maybe warehousing them. I will admit that. But as things changed in this last year, we realized we really wanted to address the causes of homelessness. And as we've discovered through this time period, that the major causes of homelessness are substance use disorder, addiction, and mental health issues, which were being poorly addressed in our community. And maybe we weren't doing as robust a job in addressing those problems that lead and perseverate homelessness. We've developed an entirely new program. We only house folks who really want to make a difference in their lives. We give them a great opportunity to work a solid recovery, to address their mental health issues, to learn life skills, so that when they do get a job and secure an income and then get housing, they'll not fail when they're out there, because we certainly have seen that happen. We have folks who come to us in active addiction. We have folks who come to us with serious mental health issues. We have folks come to us who've never made a bed, washed a load of laundry, or have any idea how to manage their home. And we provide that service over 3 to 9 months. We have a 3 to 9 month resurrection program where we, for 3 months, allow folks only to stay in with us and work on their recovery. We have meetings in-house, we have groups in-house. Every individual has a recovery coach. They develop a recovery plan, a personal recovery plan from whatever struggle, certainly addiction, but any kind of hurt, habit, or hang up, as we say, because our folks certainly have had a lot of struggles that have caused where they are. When the pandemic hit and we closed our store, our resale store, we realized that maybe our store wasn't doing so well anyway. It really was not doing the things that we wanted to do. So we closed that store permanently. And the square footage that we were using for store, we have now converted part of that into a chapel, which lifts up the name of God, lifts up Jesus Christ, which is the key to our work. But also we've created classrooms and meeting space. We never had that opportunity before to have that. And that's where we need your help. We'd like you to invest in our work there to refurbish the flooring and to furnish those areas. It's certainly been an honor to see things change. We see great fruit from our work as we've changed the way we go about things. We're the new Clarksburg Mission, even after 50 years. And we've often said we're building the plane while we're flying it. You know, we're learning, we try new things and see where the successes are and continue those. And if things don't work, we make those changes. But we're a much quieter mission. We're a much more peaceful homeless shelter. We are a bright spot in the community. We're a resource community. And maybe at times in the past, we were not quite that. If you drive by the mission today, you'll see the streets are quiet and everything is calm and peaceful. We still do feed folks we only feed our residents on site. We do feed folks across town with bag lunches. We find that we just could not have helped folks work their recovery and make progress in their life if there were a lot of struggling people surrounding them. So we've had to separate those populations. Certainly we could answer any questions that you have, but maybe Desi Underwood would like to share a little bit about the fruit of the work that you see us.
So I'm sitting back there thinking about the floor and the importance of the floor. And, you know, Jesus said the 2 greatest commandments are to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Which sounds really simple, but where the hitch is if you don't love yourself, how are you supposed to love your neighbor? I mean, how do you receive God's love if you don't love yourself? And a lot of what we do is pouring love into others that don't feel worthy of love and don't feel like their life is worth it, anything. And these are folks that have been through failure after failure after failure. And so to get them to a place that they think that they are worth something is kind of big option. And a lot of times that can look as simple as clothes that fit, learning someone's name and remembering their name, having friends to talk to, and it can look like carpet that isn't stained. And I was just telling one of our residents this morning how fun it is to watch them wake up. It's like they wake up. And this particular one, he's been with us, I don't think he's at his 30-day mark. And he's waking up and he's talking and the light's coming on in his eyes. And when he was first with us, he didn't say a word for the first couple weeks. And I was just thinking about him the other day, like, I can't wait to see him start to come around, and get expressive and interact, and it happens. And it's the coolest thing to see happen. And when they first come to us, they spend a lot of time looking down. And they're worth more than looking at stain of carpet. I mean, the simple things as a clean floor really can plant seeds of growth that prayerfully become them seeing themselves worth fighting for their own lives.
The best that folks can get clinically for their struggles is a 28-day program. And we know that it takes more than 28 days to change a life. And that's why we developed this 3 to 9 month program. So folks do have a shot at becoming the person God wants them to be. Do you have any questions that we could answer?
So basically, you're transitioning from homeless to.
Essentially, yes. I mean, we'll take anybody in from the street if they want to make a difference. And we have vast resources of personnel who are trained as recovery coaches who can get folks where they need to be to get the clinical services that they need and to discern a course for them, help them develop a recovery plan. But yeah, by and large, 90% of the problem is substance use disorder. That's just what we see. The national statistics may say 40%, but that's not what we see. We don't see people who get down on their luck and all of a sudden lose their place, lose their job and get homeless. We see folks who've been struggling with years of substance use disorder, addiction, and the services for that, like I say, a 28-day program just isn't enough. And then they go back to where they were before and end up on this hamster wheel of insanity. So we offer a chance at change and come alongside them in a strong fashion to lead and guide them in the right direction.
How many can you take?
I'll say we're a
You
smaller.
may have said that.
And I did, and we're a much smaller program. At one point, when we were at our peak, we had 110 or more residents. Now we have 50. We have 20 veterans and 30 civilians. We also do have the Sober Living Homes over on East Pike Street, which are extended recovery. So if they're 3 to 9 months with us in Glen Elk, then they can go over there to the Sober Living Homes for another 2 years if they need that. Again, it takes a long time to change a life. So our capacity in Glen Elk is about 50, and our capacity in the sober house is about 15. Yes, we segregate them at the Mission in Glen Elk, and we segregate them in the houses. It's a women's house and men's house. It's a men's program and a women's program.
Families with kids, I mean,
We just find that we can't do that. We have to do what we do well. And I think we do recovery from hurts, habits, and hangups well. And I think we focus on adults and do that. It's just hard to, I'll admit, we were doing too many things for too many folks. And maybe, I'll admit that maybe we weren't doing it as well as we could. So, yeah, yes, we were. It certainly was not. And we were following a model where you bring anybody in and give them a chance at shelter.
We certainly wouldn't turn down anybody that's homeless. But what we have typically found is those who are just simply homeless, not dealing with other addiction, and mental health issues, have other avenues, other recourses, have family, friends that will help them. Typically, the population we're dealing with, they've exhausted all of those resources, all of those connections, and we are often down to the final lifeline. So I think that we're no longer homeless shelter. We're just more, because of the necessity, focused on a niche part of homelessness.
if there are homeless, I mean, and I know there's a lot of them out there. Can you help them try to find somewhere else to go?
Yes, they can come to us and we can make arrangements, and we do that because we know all the resources. We're really rich with resources that we can refer to if we need to. And everyone who is staying with us is homeless, be they in the sober houses or at Glen Elk. And the 20 veterans who were with us are homeless also.
We're maintaining relationships with those other organizations who assist. United Way has been in the paper recently. We work with that United Way organization to try to fill the gaps and try to figure out who does what best and get the people to the right entity that can help them in their circumstances.
We've got some residents now that don't have substance abuse issues, but they have other things going on. There's a cause for the homelessness that we try to address as well, and that can wear lots of different faces. So it's not that we don't take folks that don't have substance abuse. We have just found the need is huge for those who do have the substance abuse.
And the feeding is an issue too.
And then we still have the outreach so we can stay connected to the folks on the street that may not be ready to receive help, but when they are, they know that they can come to us for that help.
We're feeding about 60 meals a day, and we're still supporting an emergency shelter in the winter. So we ourselves as a board struggled with what we needed to do, what we could best do to continue to serve the homeless and still progress forward in supporting the recovery of our homeless. So it's a fine line that we walk, and we have searched our souls for the best possible pathway and feel like we're on the right path right now.
Yeah, at first I heard about feeding. You hear everything. And then you have to start taking that on.
Well, we had to make some choices because of a safety issue. We were finding that a lot of our residents were no longer coming into our own dining facility because of, especially with the transition to meth, a lot more violent action versus opioids. And so we were having people come into our area with a lot more violent tendencies. And so the people we were primarily serving were no longer coming into our dining facility to avoid those others. We just had to make that, it's painful to do because there's so many people that we want to feed. So we found other ways of doing it. We do a boxed lunch where we go out and try to find people on the street to still feed them in that regard. It's just not necessarily happening on site.
That's what people need to know.
And just from a personal note, I mean, not to give you my whole background, but you know, I've served as a public servant in the government for over 30 years. I'm a war veteran, retired as an Army officer, but outside of my family, my involvement with the mission and the people there is the thing that I am most proud of. All that other stuff can go away. This is where I felt like I have been a part of something that does more good than anything else. And whatever we can do to continue to do that good, I want us to be able to do. And we try as a board to be as fiscally responsible as we possibly can. But we have some old buildings, very difficult to maintain. And whatever assistance we can get, we would greatly appreciate. And if and we understand you have a tight budget as well. If this doesn't work, we will find ways of continuing to take care of these individuals. But this could be a tremendous assistance to us in this endeavor.
And if I'm going to piggyback off of that, then I'll say this is the best place I've ever been in my life. I'm with the best staff and the best board, serving the best people that I've ever helped to take care of. You all know my background and how all this, you know, from a personal standpoint, this could be a great legacy. It is a great legacy for me to be able to do this work, making a difference in the community where I was an offender, I'm afraid, and really having an impact. And I'm just glad to be here today.
I'm gonna piggyback now. So we had every morning, we sit in that classroom, and we have morning meeting with everybody. We get the guys and girls together, we all come together, and we have a morning meeting, and it looks different every morning. This morning, we talked about when you feel like giving up, what do you do? What's your go-to? And we go round robin, and they all give their answer, including staff, and I told them, man, they are my go-to. And when my giving up, thank God, isn't always life or death, where there's absolutely can be, but to see them overcome the things they have overcome makes me think, really, you can't run up that hill, does it? You know, like literally physically running up a hill. And I think about these faces and these folks that the things that they have overcome. And so they are my hope and encouragement. You know, people go and serve at the mission and think they're serving, and they get served. So,
Any questions? Maybe? All right, great, great.
And I appreciate it.
Indeed. Thank you all very much.
Motion's been made to allocate $2,000 to the mission. Discussion.
What's the total request?
15,000.
That's total request of us, and total request of the project. What's your total request of us?
15,000, but it was an $18,000 project, yes, sir.
$1,000.
Yeah, I'd like to amend that. Maybe. Yeah. Take care of this.
Okay, you're not willing to amend your motion? Are you willing to, you said split the?
This is a big difference.
Amend your motion from 2 to 5,000.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else?
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Really appreciate that.
Sorry, sir. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, number 10, review, discuss, consider hiring an individual for planning.
Motion for to allow county administrator to begin the process, interview process. I think that's it. Individual applicants submitted. Follow the process.
Okay,
Right now, just for an individual in the planning department to assist. We have a future retirement that could be happening, but with all the properties and everything,
Building inspector.
another Danny and Linda type individual.
Here's who we are. Secretary. Inspectors. Per bill.
motion to hire someone in the planning department. To replace or retirement. With the bill, correct? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion carried. Okay, review, discuss, consider pay scale for county administrator.
President's recommendation of the county commissioners, please go to M as in Mary -3.
Motion's been made to move the county administrator's pay scale to an M3. Any further discussion?
Which is
$7,831.
President. President McLaurin.
77,556.
Pay that went out for the advertising. Basically.
Listed against that. Support.
Yes. Huh? All I need to say it on.
Our other department heads. Two that would make them.
Tell me which two those are.
Hope on Charlie Brookendorf.
That's closest to you, this spring.
I can grab my other spreadsheet. I don't know.
Please. First case in the US, it's a South American case. That's a little for weather and stuff.
It's Mary Green.
Take home and free and take her back so far.
I just was looking for the thing closest to 10.
I'd like to see if it's all right with you two. If keep an eye on me.
So where? D3. We have a motion for M3 on the floor. We'll have to motion first. You make the motion. Motion for an M3. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Well, I don't disagree. More.
Position for her to be with payroll system seems odd.
Okay, number 12, review, discuss, consider FY 22, fiscal year 22, I believe, what that's for, industrial access road project. Is that what you?
I no, Gina was going to be here to represent.
She's on here, and Gina is on the.
I can give an overview, or did you want Gina to do that since she's on the call?
I can do it. We applied for the Harvest Medical as the client for the FY 2021 Industrial Access Road Funds. And Jim Mosby at the state advised us that everything came in, it was on time. However, by the time it got there, there were no longer funds available. They had been allocated to other projects. he sent an FY 21-22 application. His suggestion is that we just transfer all of the Harvest Medical information onto this year's application. We do a cover letter, and that we will go in the queue. We will be second in the queue for funds. That funds as of right now are available. That's his recommendation. I know that at previous commission meetings, there were other projects discussed for fiscal year 21-22. And so I think that's what needs to be discussed is, do we want to use the Harvest Medical information that we have? It's ready to go. It can slide right in, or do we need to consider the other projects instead of Harvest Medical? The one thing he did say is that the state is very well aware of this project. It's been approved, everything is good. They are not aware of the other two projects. One of them they're not aware of at all. One of them they are not aware of to very much extent. So there's no guarantee that those would be approved.
Commissioners, I also add to that, thank you. Not just Harvest Medical, it's for the actual whole park itself. There's one more industrial park. There will be two big tenants, so the Harvest Medical, but the larger tenant is the warehouse. We have EMA right now. This road will service the whole park, not just Harvest Medical.
Well, and it couldn't just be Harvest Medical anyway. They don't, the industrial access road can't do it, it's just one company, so. But they're aware of the other company as well. Jim Wilsey actually mentioned that company as well, so.
What are the other two projects?
One of them is RDR Enterprises at the old Anchor Hocking. And we have reached out to them and we haven't had any response back. We've reached out for information. I did talk to Trey Randolph's CPA the other day. I guess Trey had talked to him and the CPA called and I spoke with him, gave him some information, told him we'd be happy to help him gather information, fill out information, etc. But I have not heard back from him. The other project, I don't know exactly what it is. I know it's at the Parksburg Airport.
Make a motion for the commission to reissue a letter of support or file for Harrison County Regional Parks. Industrial road projects.
Any discussion? We've already voted on these other projects, is that correct?
Yes.
But Mr. Rand, I mean, I think the issue there, are there more than one business out there? I think that was owned by different, but
For which project?
for Randall.
It's my understanding there are different businesses out there with this business, but we don't have any information. We've never received information on what those are, how many they are, anything like that.
We've reached out to him and he doesn't return. Okay.
Well, and like I said, I talked to the CPA just the other day, who has no experience with this particular type of funding. So he was asking a lot of questions about the application because we sent the application, Gina sent the application to Trey, I don't know, back in early June. So.
We're just gonna go with this one now and then begin RDR when following.
I've also reached out to the developer as well for RDR. There's also different pots of funding that he would qualify for that this regional industrial park would not. So same thing, I'd be willing to help him apply for some of those or tap into those with city parks.
Well, we're not closing it today, we're just pushing back one year, right?
Yes, on this application. But he's more than welcome to apply.
I mean, that's the loophole that he wouldn't be able to try next year, because I gotta be careful here.
The loophole.
Something will happen next year.
It does have to
Trust
meet
me.
all the criteria.
Okay.
So there's a list of criteria
But I
that he
mean,
has
he's
to meet,
next after
as
this.
well as any other project that would have to
But
meet.
he has to respond.
Right, once he responds, he's next, if he responds, Amy, right?
As far as support the commission, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Review, discuss, consider right-of-way agreement for Harvest Care Medical LLC, City of Bridgeport. Who has information on that? Anybody have information on number?
Chad, do you want to speak on this
We
one?
were- So
Trying to figure
this-
out who's gonna talk? Is that what
So,
it is?
yeah, so this is a sewer line that is gonna serve Harvest Care. It's gonna serve other areas of the park as well. I don't believe it's gonna serve the first building that we're talking about. We're gonna serve provide sewer service for another area. But this is a right of way that's owned by the county. And what we're asking to do, I believe, is to transfer that right of way to the city of Bridgeport.
And we don't have the documentation.
We've not received the documentation. We requested the Harvest Care provided. They then go to the utility, called the utility takeover company, the city of Bridgeport, because they usually have a standard agreement which the utility providers like. Because the way the project typically works is the developer puts the infrastructure in, they then maintain a warranty of liability for a year and a day, sometimes longer, because they're tied into a public utility. But we haven't received that paperwork. We have received the documentation as to what they are going to do, which is what we wanted last week, and that all checks out, which is good. So I would move forward, it's subject to the review and execution of a agreement which memorializes and goes with record what we were doing, yes.
President to fix your signature. So,
Thank you. Commissioner. Yes.
Motion as stated by Trey and David.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion carried.
They are steels up. What they call their original row houses are in, and they have started growing their basements.
I'd also like to speak to the commission, just an announcement to the community at the end of August. Say just something for.
Okay, number 14, administrators report.
I do.
See a list of them.
Communication with the employees as well as the elected officials and the tenants of the buildings surrounding us in the GSA building has been very key, especially with Third Street being closed from Washington down to Maine. They're very appreciative of the communication. I try to go visit them and just make sure that they have no questions, concerns, everything's going good with that. And even just communicating from everyone from the security to the employees, always trying to constantly talk and keep those lines of communication open. Focus is on the levy, getting the numbers checked and double checked. Want to reach out to Shelley at the auditor's office for an extra set of eyes. That way we can wrap that up. Next week, I'll be out Sunday to Tuesday for the training at Canaan. And we were made aware of asbestos in the Meadowbrook Road property. I'm sure you all saw Charlotte's email about that. We'll move forward with the abatement process. Once we do the abatement, we'll get it knocked down within 24 hours so we can follow the state's process to a T. Knocking it down within 24 hours will eliminate the further testing such as the air testing. And if it's under 15,000, we can get it taken care of pretty quickly. And that's all.
Yeah, I only have the congratulations to our two new deputies, and Laura, please reach out to the sheriff's department. I would like to have them here next week, and have that president, or even part of the sheriff's department at the county. I would love that. And if there's any promotions to lieutenant that are to be filled, we'd be happy to honor that as well. We're expecting over that. There's some vacancies right now. Congratulations to all promotions and newcomers.
I'd like to know, we're gonna get into more details of the Shasta Rail Trail upgrades. We'll be discussing that in a meeting. stand with that at this point? Given the preliminary, I'm guessing this is preliminary from Thrasher, or is this the actual bid package?
It's a draft for your review, and we can certainly make changes to it. That is the purpose of it, is to get your final approval before we put it out to bid.
Chance of a work session.
No. Move forward, Chad. About it anymore. Is there any question in your mind what we're looking for, sir?
Not in my mind, after hearing the, coming to your meetings and hearing what you wanted. We're putting the trail within what you've requested. We're stopping at the gate where Mark Southern owns, so we're not going on Mark Southern private property. We've got approval from the rail authority. We've taken ownership and maintenance of it.
And last week, we voted to move forward with the project.
So, I mean, we're not going as far back through Enterprise as we earlier just talked about because of the construction. We're gonna wait till that's over with. You know, in my mind, I've done everything that you've asked us to do. And so we're ready to.
We're ready to tackle any drainage problems, any ditching issues.
That's all included in there, yeah.
So. These are not for construction, so when I'm looking at here, it's not the actual construction costs. Because I see where Start Trail upgrade, it's just a wastewater treatment plant. On the drawing. Is that correct?
It's at the gate where the gate is.
The gate's not at the waste treatment plant. It's way down there. How are we supposed to get down to the gate, the trail across private property?
Coming in from the Enterprise side.
So we're work from the Enterprise across Marion County.
Unless the contractor can work out a deal with private property owners to do.
Was the Marion County side paid?
Not in Enterprise. No.
So we coming in from that direction. So from the gate to the Shinston Water Plant, do you know how far that is?
Gate to the wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, Dave, it's several hundred yards. I mean, it's you can see it pretty easily. I don't know exactly.
So our paving will stop at the gate. And we don't have any way to access it from Shinston. They Marion County Water. Because I keep looking at your drawings and you keep saying start trail upgrades at the treatment plant, and I'm just trying to understand how we're doing that on private property.
Well, I mean, maybe we need to change the note, but the intention that we're going to start at the gates.
It's right there. I just want to make sure if we're going out to bid that these aren't drawings that are being used. Everybody understands that it starts at the gate. Between the gate and the city of Shinston is private property. We do not control that.
That's correct.
I'll still put my, as far as I'm concerned, this 2 foot of gravel is a absolute maintenance nightmare. It'll never last. But I would like to see upgraded drawings of actual bid specifications that says where this thing starts and stops. I was also curious, Ted, why we're using for the 2 foot. You've got class 3 aggregates, so we're not going to seal with any dust, sand, roll, compact that. It's just going to be a class 3 roll.
Be a crusher run type of aggregate.
And on the right hand side of the page, what's going to be there? Anything?
There will be stone on both sides of the pavement.
Point that out to me after the meeting because I don't see. Gravel. That's is there a reason why we're going for a hard surface versus pervious surface with the water go through?
That was what was requested by this commission.
Is there a reason why you wanted a hard surface versus a pervious surface? So the water may drain through.
You know, we also do, I'd love for it to be 8 feet blacktop. That was kind of your idea.
People think, I just want to know why we're putting a wiring force on.
So before he puts the bid out, you want to go 8 feet across, because I agree with you, it makes more sense.
We're not talking width, we're talking the type of asphalt. We're putting it down like for a road.
What I'm saying is you said it would tear up at 6 feet, is it going to make you want to go 8?
I want to do it. I just want to make sure why we're putting a wiring force on. For something that doesn't wear.
Do you think we better-
Well, I know, the purpose of that was to prevent water from infiltrating into your subbase, so it doesn't weaken. So I want the water to run off of the trail and not go down into the stone.
You're putting a 3-inch stone base underneath of course. Fabric. Just curious.
I think it's better. I think it's a better product. You could do it either way, but I think it's better to have the wiring force down. I think it will save maintenance. It will save any problems in the future.
What do you think about the 8 feet as opposed to 6, Jim?
I think he has legitimate concerns there. It is going to be hard to maintain that gravel. But we put that gravel in there to maybe accommodate some of the runners that didn't want to run on the asphalt. So
We have a lot more trails, so if we want to go 8 feet, we can do that. I always wanted to go 8 feet, that was compromised.
That's-
That's stuff cost wear and tear on it. I got it 8 feet.
that's completely
Bring it back to 4 feet. Split the difference.
People like me will die on a 4-foot bike trail, and I will go into the river. I know that, you know, I'm just being honest. You know? Yeah, let's go 8 feet. I think it's a great idea. Thank you so much.
To adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Oh, it's not finished.
I mean, everybody know, but, or I'll be filing the paper.
Thank you.